Ladies and gents, welcome back to another Engineers podcast. Today I'm joined by Yoni from Dynamic. He's the CTO and co-founder. Dynamic are doing some awesome stuff in the Web3 space. They're building a seamless, world-first login and wallet management platform. We're going to be talking loads of things around embedded finance, security challenges, auth challenges. But I think one of the more poignant topics that people in the Web3 space are talking about at the moment is how you build a really good customer experience alongside these. So we're lucky we're joined by Yoni today. Yoni's going to be giving us a bit of insight into the business, the mission, and talking about some of the problems that they're solving. So Yoni, first and foremost, thanks for coming to join us.
Thanks, Elliot. Great to be here, and really thank you for the opportunity to talk to you and to your audience. So we are very grateful for that. So thank you.
My absolute pleasure. We always start with some background on you. Tell us about your journey, and then tell us a little bit about Dynamic, the product, and the mission of the business.
Yes, absolutely. So a little bit about myself. I'm an Israeli. I always say it with the weird accent because it's not a typical. You had a bunch of Israelis on your podcast. I think if you compare the accent, I'm on the. I don't know why. It is what it is. And yeah, I always been a computer geek. Started coding since I was 12. From the old generation, even before the internet, when it was dial-ups. So when I was 12, I had like a BBS in my house. You as well? Perfect. Love it.
Me too.
So been around the block for a while. Like many Israelis, served in the army. I was in a role that was very similar to like project management kind of role. And one of the things that I quickly learned while doing that is that I really want to go back to be hands-on and be an engineer. And this is the career I want to do. Mostly because when you act as a manager or like someone who doesn't really know the details, many times you really left to trust the other people's judgment and this decision. And it's very hard for you to really say, like, maybe they're kind of bullshitting me. Sorry for the language, but maybe there's a better way to do it. And I think it's true for every type of management. Well, if you go up the ranks without really taking your sleeves up and being able to do everything to the top down, you usually I've seen usually cannot be, I think, the best managers. And even in my career, as I started as an engineer and grew up, the managers that I looked up the most were the ones that were very much hands-on. So from that decision, I decided computer science is what I want to learn. I was very fortunate to apply to MIT and get in. So after the army, I moved to the US. I was also the oldest freshman with its ups and downs. I had a great experience there. I did my undergrad and my master's in computer science. In addition to receiving great education, made many friends, had a lot of good experiences, and met two very important people. And most important one is I met my wife over there. We have 3 lovely children. So this is a big part of like, how do I manage startup and family
Good
together?
answer that. I thought it was going to be a co-founder, but it was your wife first. Good answer.
Yeah. And I also met my co-founder.
There you go.
Can say, I don't know, almost second wife. I don't know like how you want to say it, but I met Itai there. He's Israeli, but we met at MIT. I didn't meet him in Israel. We've been friends since then. So more than 15 years at this point. I don't want to do the math. It's getting too much. But we know each other for a while. We always knew that we wanted to start a company together. We also worked together in the company. I'll get to in a second. But it's always been, we had a bit different journeys, and eventually we managed to combine it and start Dynamic. And while I was there, I spent some time at Google. This is where I did my master thesis on collaboration on structured data. So it was a very interesting time at Google Research. After that, I graduated and been in startup since. Been at Guild, which was a big e-commerce company at the time. Actually, our director of engineers at Dynamic was a fantastic guy named Paolo. I know him since these days, so we know each other for a long time. Then I was a VP of engineering in a fintech startup in the city, worked in a hedge fund for a bit. And then it was my first opportunity to work together with Itai. He was leading product. I was the VP of engineering at Joule, which is related to our journey in Dynamic because we spent a lot of time there on an identity, really knowing who the customers are. And this is something that we'll touch maybe later in the conversation about how it's related to blockchain and how it could be solved. Work in some other startups after as advisors, and we basically started Dynamic in 2021.
Tell us about Dynamic, because phenomenal business. I know Paolo. I know some of the team. I'm very interested in the Web3 space. amongst other people who listen to the podcast. So I think what you're building is game changing. Tell us about it.
So we started Dynamic around November 21. The people who are exposed to crypto, this was one of the best bull markets at the time. I've been in crypto playing on the sidelines since 2012, and I think I bought my first Bitcoin. A lot of FOMO right now. No, not FOMO, but the opposite of FOMO, which I will bought and huddle more. But anyhow, 2020, another good time. We was playing a lot with Solana. We were building some things around it. And one of the things that still hold true for then and now is that we believe that every app, every website eventually will have a crypto component to it. And the beginning and the start of every crypto component is the wallets. We'll get in a second, maybe some of us don't know what wallets mean, so we'll explain it in a second. But assuming that there was going to be a crypto component, we noticed that there is a really lack of user management and also onboarding to Web3 and building the crypto components to it is very difficult. It's time consuming, it's hard. And also there's another element to it that crypto, like AI, by the way, it's very similar. It's an industry that moves really fast. There's a lot of innovation, a lot of smart people, much smarter than I am, that keep coming up with good proposals, keep moving the envelope, and it's getting better and better. We can talk in a second about like how things have shifted, like even since 2021 to today, like things are much faster, much cheaper, and much more stable. And the UX also got much better, also thanks a bit for Dynamic, but there's a lot of things that got better, but things are just moving in a rapid speed. So if you want to be on top of it and still develop your own site or focus on your own business, it's very hard for you to catch up, to keep being on top of that and doing that. So we are basically, our goal really is letting developers focus on what's important for them and let us Dynamic really focus on everything related to the crypto experience, starting from the wallets, integrating and onboarding users, to things like money. How do they get money to this wallet? How do they get it off? Identity, managing assets, access control, anything related basically to authentication, user management, and getting the users basically to use the blockchains.
What are the biggest differences that you see from 2021 to where we are today in starting the business? Those 3 years, what do you feel has evolved since then in the crypto space?
Yeah, I think it matured a lot. I think there's a lot, like when we started, it was small players, a lot of ideas. We see that in AI. I think right now there's like more businesses that have more fundamentals and more business. And we see also the number of users and big players that playing in definitely increased. Technology is stable. There's more patterns and more protocols that have been established. There are a lot of competing ones, that more of them became more stable, especially in the wallet space. This is where we focus. Things are much better, especially in the Ethereum, the Solana ecosystems. We see it also in Bitcoin evolving, but in Bitcoin, for example, they have a lot of wallets, but the standards are not there yet. There's like multiple standards they need to support, but we see it in other places. And yeah, I think also our area of the business of onboarding, user management, and crypto didn't really exist when we started. Now it's a pretty hot area to play in, and yeah, that's at least from my point of view.
It's a really hot area. Double down on, if with a user, they want to use Dynamic, what can they actually get out of Dynamic by choosing to use Dynamic?
Perfect. Yeah. So maybe we step back for a second and explain some of our Genesis story, what we started to build and what products that we build on top of it. When we started, we focused mostly on Web3 users, DJs. This user already had their non-custodial wallets like MetaMask, Phantom, etc., Coinbase wallet. And what we needed to build for them was just a way to authenticate to websites. At the time in 2021, a protocol called signing with Ethereum became very popular. At the underline of every wallet, there's a private key. You can use this private key to sign a message. This is what proves that you are who you are, which is a very interesting concept. And it goes back to what I mentioned earlier about identifying users on the chain. It's much better than any password you can think of. Passkeys basically use a similar concept, where there's a private key, they sign some proof message. So the idea of using a technology that is much better than any password, anything that could be secure to prove that you're who you are, was in the genesis of that. So our first product was, let's build a user management platform with the ability for wallets to sign in. So we did it on Ethereum and Solana from basically day one. So the first product we built, we started to support the idea of a user. A user could have multiple wallets attached to it. So you can because this is define who you are as a person or
Yeah.
entity, and soon even AI agents will have their own wallets that they use to identify who they are. So once you understand it, so we started like similar companies like Auth0 do authentication for Web2. We started with first principles of firstly supporting Web3 use cases. So we supported the wallets first. So user authenticated with wallets, they can connect it and they have this identity. Now we started to think, okay, what's next? How do we get users who never had a wallet before? So the first step we started was actually, let's bring all the known authentication factors that you know from Web2. So if you go to a regular website, you have email, you have SMS, you have social logins. We support multiple dozens of them, like Google, GitHub, Twitter. And then the next thing is like, what if these users don't have a wallet? This is where this is what's called embedded wallets. So if the user until now never had a wallet before and we want to onboard them, we want to make it super easy for them to get a wallet without the burden of creating or downloading a wallet that existed before that. One of the biggest UX burdens till today with all the non-custodial wallets that you can install yourself is that you need to keep track and you need to save the secret phase code. It could be 12, 24, 16 words, different algorithms, but you need to save it in a secure place. And if something bad happens, you need to use it to restore it. You hear thousands of stories of people losing the code, your seed phrase, or losing the hardware wallet, or things break. It's a terrible user experience. Can you imagine, like today, at least in the Western world, third world is a different story, but in the Western world, can you imagine like you suddenly cannot access your bank account? Like it could happen. It happened actually last year in Silicon Valley, but you still have some mechanism to restore it. There's the FDIC. There's places you can go and like they will help you to get your money back. Here you're on your own. So this is where the embedded wallet is coming. Let's simplify the UX here. We will create non-custodial wallet, which non-custodial means that like we don't have access to the private key. Only you, we cannot manage, we don't manage it for you. We can do anything for it except you, the user. Let's figure out a secured way to do that only the users can have it and we can generate for them. And this is basically what the embedded wallet allowed us. We allowed users who never had wallets before to basically come and generate it. So this is one of the main features we have. In addition, what I mentioned earlier, why to use dynamic. This is the high level features. Now we want to support multiple blockchains. So we support Bitcoin, we support Cosmos, we support Algorand at the time, Starknet, and more. And we're adding more in the upcoming year. We support hundreds of wallets. Some of them have their own unique integrations. We took care of that.
Love that.
We have all the user management and user onboarding. So you can customize however you want to like the onboarding flow to be. If you want to capture specific information about users, we take care of it. We have a lot of access control. You want to use NFTs to do NFT gating, we provide it out of the box. We also we have webhooks and we're working on global wallets, so your wallet can follow you around different sites. So let's say you created this embedded wallet in one site, you should still be able to use it on another site. So we already have support for that. But basically the idea is that we are a tool for developers. We're making sure that we're always focusing on these aspects of the experience, the onboarding, the user management, also of course the on-ramp. If users need to get money to the wallets, we support that as well. Anything related to the crypto stack and experience that the user might need, we provide that basically.
Love that. That's such good context. I think the one thing that I really hear loud and clear from the team, even in my initial conversations with guys and girls in product, there's no compromise between security and a really good UX. You want to create really good experiences on both and no compromises. I hear that loud and clear. That sounds like a real strict principle inside of Dynamic. What are the challenges that come with that?
Yes. First of all, it's a responsibility, right? It's not just security, it's also uptime, I would say. Because we are a SaaS platform that sits like similar to Amazon in a way. We're not Amazon in a way or AWS, but similar to AWS and Google Cloud and Azure. If they go down, the internet is down, basically.
Yeah.
If we are down, like our customer really rely on us and that could impact their onboarding experience. We have mechanism to make sure that if this thing happens, things still work smooth. So we remove that concern. But it puts a lot of burden on us to make sure that whatever we build, the quality is always there. So it relates to uptime and best practices around engineering, which we did from day one. So it means that like testing is something we're obsessed with from the day we started the company. And also the first hire that I've done as CTO was bringing a DevOps security guy to build the foundation, starting from there. So it's mostly about like best practices and making sure that we focus on security. Things we've done around security, by the way, just of course we are SOC 2 compliant. We do code audits quite often, on average every quarter, more or less. And we have a bug bounty from almost day one, just to make sure that we're always up to date on what's happening. This is on the high level. The deep thing about the security is everything related to how we manage the embedded wallets. And here we use like best practices and best technologies that are available today in the market, whether it's like using Nitro enclaves to make sure that everything related to the encryption and dealing with anything related to the embedded wallets is done inside. We're using some of the best vendors and libraries to do that properly, managing these keys. And now, how does it affect customer experience and UX? This is where the challenge is, and it's what I mentioned earlier. If everything needs to be hidden to the customer, also to the customer, and I treat the customer both as the end user and also the developers that integrate with us. If the interface, the API that we give the developer is not simple enough to use, the integration not simple, then they can just go and build it themselves. The idea is that we hide most of the stuff and we provide them, and I hope that they trust us enough. I know they are, that we do the best we can to make sure that everything is secure and done properly, so they don't need to worry about it. Our promise is that we're there for our customers, so they can focus on what they need and not need to worry about anything related to security or anything like that.
I hear a couple of things. I hear uptime, that's a challenge. You make it a seamless challenge, but still, best practices, that almost bleeds into your culture, and that's something that we'll continue to touch on. But talk to us a little bit about some of the engineering challenges that you're likely to see under the hood at Dynamic as a good example on a day-by-day, week-by-week basis. Some of the ones that we haven't touched on, that they're problems that engineers, product people, they're hard at solving.
We have two different problems that are tough to solve. One of them is what we can attach everything related to embedded wallet security and how we manage the user of the APIs. The other one is more about the front end side, the SDK. That's my first voyage in building SDKs to customers, where basically we don't just provide API integration, we build actually UI components that sit inside customers' React apps, React Native apps, soon Unity. And it basically means that we need to make sure that it works with whatever combination and whatever setup that customers have. We need to make sure that also our API and everything never breaks. So we are always compatible to the past. So early on, we need to build a lot of tools to make sure that different versions works nicely, and if an SDK, and that we don't introduce breaking changes, and things go well. And we release a lot. We release also almost daily. So how do we make sure that we can still do it daily without impacting our customers' integration, making sure that things work well on whatever setup they have? That's one challenge. So if you're a front-end engineer and you think about Dynamic, one of the things, you're building really software that is going to be deployed on whatever variation that you can think of, and it needs to work and work smoothly. Then on the back end, this is where we need the uptime, the security, make sure everything is secure to the top notch, and that we do everything we can to make sure that everything scales. We have millions of end users a month. We also support we support many airdrops of customers where you get huge spikes of customers coming in at a very short time. We need our infrastructure to scale with it as well. The combination of all of them together that needs to play really nicely makes it very tricky. And add to that, what I mentioned earlier, that the crypto industry is a moving target. Every week, every month, our roadmap keeps shifting and keeps changing because we need to be up to date, because our customers ask for that. Our customers are at the forefront of everything that's happening, and they know and they want the latest technology and support. So we have to keep moving and providing them that.
There's a selection there, and it really ranges across the full stack. And even earlier in the show, you're talking about over the 3 years, you've started to evolve on different ecosystems, different chains, because you have to, because that's where people want to build. That's where people want to start going to use their crypto, et cetera, et cetera. So those different level of integrations that you actually need to start thinking about, I can imagine it does change. And I'm really keen to go into another layer that I know you're excited to talk about, is in how does that bleed into your culture? Generally, your culture, that could also be your engineering culture and how you build things, company culture and how you want to build features. There's a range there that no doubt we're going to cover. But, you talk about your roadmap might have to change on a monthly, quarterly basis because of things are happening so quickly in the space. So I'm really keen to understand how you foster a fast moving, secure, best practice culture.
And things are moving, and also we're very much customer centric. We have hundreds of customers. We have a lot of Slack direct channels with them. So with many of, especially the enterprise customers, we have direct relationship, and also in our community Slack. So we know what our customers want. So many times we think we know what our roadmap going to look like, but we're open to feedback. To your question, I think the most important thing, and something like, by the way, as a side note, we're a small startup. We're 25 people, Series A. I didn't mention it before, but funded by some great VCs like A16Z and Founder Fund and Castle Iron and Solana Ventures also, and Bear Capital. So a lot of smart people are really helping us in this journey. I'm very thankful for them. So back to my team, we're relatively small startup, 25 employees, very dev focused. Majority of the teams are engineers. I think one thing that we pay very attention, it's something that I also always liked when I worked as engineer in other companies, is the aspects of ownership. So everyone on the team is really owning projects. I think that's the biggest benefit between big companies and startups. And this is why I find myself working more in startups, is because it gives you the ability to own it completely. From talking to the customer, all our employees talk to customers daily, talking to customers, understanding the need, speccing it out, building it, delivering, monitoring it, everything. You get the full thing. Some focus more on backend, some more on frontend, but at the end of the day, there's a full ownership. And I think that sense of ownership and ability to deliver, as I mentioned, we release almost daily. So like it's really the culture of moving fast and owning the thing together, while keeping in mind that you don't want to break things to our customers and everything we mentioned earlier, but security and uptime.
Yeah, it's so important. The world's definitely shifted. Building something for your customer is number one priority. Well, it really always has been, but I think over the last 2-3 years, there's certainly a drive even more towards it, like being really customer centric. I feel that from you. I feel that from anyone that I speak to inside of Dynamic. That's how you're inclined. That's really how you're thinking about solving problems, customer first.
You're right. Me as a customer before, I don't think I have very few direct lines with our vendors. I think you see it mostly with the newer generation of companies. Like I see it with our vendors. The vendors that started more or less at our time, we have direct channels with them. We work with them very closely. If you look at the legacy companies, you still need to open a ticket, some form and stuff. So I don't think we'll be where we are without our customers and the feedback that they give us. So it's hard because we always need to be there and support them and respond. But I think it's very rewarding at the same time.
Yeah. Okay. You'll be listening to them over the next 12 months and no doubt building towards what they want. Where are you making bets? Maybe as a business, generally in the Web3 space over the next 12 months. Bearing in mind, this is your opinion, but it'd be good to get some insights into that. Someone who is CTO, co founder of a really well respected and thriving business.
Yeah. So there are a few areas that I think are going to be very popular in the next year. It's our roadmap, but it probably some of it will be. It's going to be more and more reducing friction to customers. So one thing that we've seen recently with the Stripe acquisition of Bridge is more and more doubling down on stable coins and cross borders transactions. There's a lot of apps that do that already that are very popular in the US. How can you use to put stablecoin, move it across borders, sending money home in a much cheaper and better rates than other companies? So we see much more thing happening on stablecoins. Also, companies may want to create their own stablecoin, might want to initialize their own thing so they can, for different reasons, but we'll see it getting more popularity. Second thing is in different blockchains, there are different chains that play along each other. So for example, there is Base, there's Polygon, there's things called chain abstraction. The idea is that right now you want to move tokens between chains, you need to go to a bridge, you need to do it, you want to send, let's say, 100 USDC to someone, but you only have ETH. You need to go to a bridge, you need to move it. It's very complicated. There's going to be more and more layers of abstraction to make it even easier. So you will just want to send it from this address to this address, and you have the total amount of your assets, and you can automatically send it over. This will reduce a lot of friction and will make it closer to what we're used to in the day-to-day. If you want to go to the level, it will still be there. But I think for a lot of users, this abstraction will be very helpful. Another element is everything related to AI. We've already been seeing it. There's some really cool agents that do like wonderful things. How do we make it easier for agents to create wallets and integrate and use them in a non-custodial way and provide policies around it to make it easier for them to manage that? Another aspect in crypto that causes a lot of friction is everything related to gas costs. If you're not familiar, every time you do a transaction on a chain, there is a gas cost because you need to pay for the infrastructure because it's all, you need to pay to the miners and whoever run the nodes, etc. There's a concept for ability to gas sponsorship it with account abstraction. There's some big movement on the Ethereum side called 7702 that's going to make it even more frictionless, much easier to any wallet, whether you come with your MetaMask wallet, be able to create a smart wallet to start paying for these customers for this gas fee. So basically, I think overall, we will see much more adoption. And I think if the trend will continue, especially with the new administration in the US, which seems to be very, at this point of time, very supportive and going to make some bets on crypto, we're going to see much more adoption. And we're probably going to see much more Web2 companies start using the crypto as well. So basically what we said is our vision and what we believe is going to be the case, that almost every platform will have crypto rails to it. I think we're going to start seeing this adoption this year.
Yeah, there are a couple of really good points. The frictionless nature is important. I think it then aids, like you were saying, more companies in the Web2 space to start thinking about delivering Web3 products. And you've taken quite a good example. You know, you still apply some of the same Web2 concepts to auth and security to actually how you go about building dynamics. So hopefully we can start to see that transition happen even further. But here's betting on less friction.
Yeah, and this is where we play. As I mentioned earlier, like we are creating this abstraction on top of it to make it even easier. So if you want to try using dynamic, shouldn't take you more than a few minutes to get up and running with all of this stuff without going deep to the weeds and getting things working.
Good. And before we wrap up, talk to the community a little bit about how you might be growing as a business, who you might be hiring for, and what roles they'll perform in the business, and whereabouts you're based.
Yeah. So we're a remote first company, mostly in the US time zone. So it could be South America, Canada, US. Where we're growing, I actually would like to keep our company in this range. Maybe we'll go a bit more for the foreseeable. I think this is this is like a very sweet spot from engineering side. We're always hiring, and we have open headcount at the moment, but we're always hiring and looking for best talent, especially for people in from the crypto space, or someone who's really passionate about it and want to do it. We think there's just a huge learning curve and a lot of things to know. So anyone who's interested in whether it's the backend aspects, which is everything related to security, embedded wallets, managing keys, to the front end, optimizing, building the best SDKs to our customers from all the levels, from junior to staff engineers to DevOps. But yeah, we are always hiring and always looking for the best people.
Amazing. If you're listening in the Web3 space, remote first across US time zones, North American, South American time zones, and skill levels across full stack, go and talk to Yoni. Go and talk to the team, check out their careers sites, do all the usual things. But, you know, without fail, definitely put these guys and girls on a download list, on your radar, and one for the future. Yoni, I want to say a massive thanks for coming to join us, talking to us about the problems that you're solving and some of the great work that you're doing.
Thank you, Eric. Much appreciated. It's been fun. Thank you so much.
My absolute pleasure. For people listening, all your likes, shares, subscribership, directing it towards your friends, family, whoever else, that's all massively, massively appreciated. So continue to do that. And it's bye for now from us. Hey guys, thanks for watching this episode. Massively appreciate you listening and checking in with us. If you want to find out more about us and what we're doing, please check us out on social media. What we're trying to do at Enginears is build a community to drive knowledge sharing and experiences. On Twitter, we can be found Enginears.io. It's no_. We've also got a website, which is enginears.io. These links will all be posted in the description. Any feedback and comments are massively appreciated. We're always looking to improve on where we can. Thanks, guys.